this.
You can handle it.
I think I'll be all right. All right. So let's see here. Do I need to show the agenda on the screen? Can we just
No,
talk
sir. You can just call the meeting order and announce a quorum.
Okay. All right. So it's 6:31. We have a quorum. This is a meeting of the Type B.
Brian, okay.
What?
Merle's trying to get in now.
Okay. So we have a meeting for the Type B Economic Development Corporation Board. It is February 8th. And so I guess the first thing is calling it to order, and then there's no citizens forum, right? So I guess discuss, consider, and take action on approval of meeting minutes from January 11th, 2021.
Justin, I make a motion that we approve the minutes.
I will second.
Bill made a motion, Kim seconding the motion. I guess all in favor, will we raise our hands on here? Say aye. And nays, any noes? All right, motion passed. So I guess we'll just move on to the next one. Review the year-to-date financial statements as of January 2021.
You've got a copy of the statement before you. If you have any questions, I'm happy to try to get you an answer. There was something that came up last month about a error with the Joshua Baseball Association. Joanna went in and corrected that. So that shows up as revenue in on the payment that we received from them. There haven't been really any significant payments out of here this month other than just general stuff. Most of the work that's been going on is being covered out of a different fund, and so we're not seeing any hits to this account. But I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have them.
What?
Good.
I wasn't here last week, but what was the error from JBA?
She had the last payment that they received for the fall ball season or whatever the last ball season was. It was just in the wrong place. It was showing up as permits and it was a different revenue line item, and she got it moved and corrected.
Got it. All right. Anybody have any questions on it?
Yeah.
No questions.
Let me talk to you later. I'm in the middle of a Zoom meeting. Bye. Our illustrious mayor.
I was fixing to mute you, but I couldn't find the button.
All right. So nobody has any questions. I guess we don't approve any of that, right? I mean, it's just is what it is, right? Okay. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Discussion on future improvements to the city park and plans for Cooper Valley.
All right, I've got something here. I think we got it sent out to you this morning. I'll screenshot it up here. Some of you guys wanted to take a look at some of the implements and have some input on the new park that's going in Cooper Valley. This is a small, what they call neighborhood park, or actually a pocket park. It's about 3 acres, 2.5 or 3 acres, kind of pie shaped, and it's over in Cooper Valley. The the east side of the park borders an open field. And so there'll be some fencing and stuff that goes up across there. Some of the discussion that we've had And one of the things that I would like your guys' input on is a walking path. And our initial thought was that we wouldn't put a walking path there because that whole neighborhood is sidewalked. And there's not going to be parking at this park. And so typically people are going to walk to the park to get there. And so there were some that just in conversation that thought maybe that might be an expense that we didn't need to take on to surround it with a walking path. I think you could probably get a 1/4 mile track in there fairly easy. It, might be worth measuring it to see if you guys have an appetite for a walking trail around the circumference of it, which I certainly don't mind doing. And we have set aside some funding for that in case it came up. So it's kind of up to y'all. We would do it concrete, just like the other one, the one in the park now. And, however far it goes, we could put the markers out and let them know how far they've walked. But this park is going to be much smaller in nature. There's not going to be any permanent structures built. We were going to put a couple of picnic tables in there, put pergolas over the top of them, or we could do a shade structure, a canvas shade structure if you chose to go that route. We thought about a swing set and a little play area that I've given you. I'm going to share this screen. Well, first of all, before I get ahead of myself, where do you guys sit on the sidewalk? What are y'all's thoughts?
I personally kind of have mixed feelings on it. I mean, I can understand the appeal of having a walking track, like while your kids are playing and you want to go out and walk the track or whatever. But I also understand what you're saying about most of the people are going to walk there anyways.
Is it just a circular walking track or is it a trail that leads
No,
somewhere?
It would be just a circular around the circumference of the park.
Mm.
I mean,
I
I could throw some zigzags in there if you want to, but
Like the city park?
yeah, but it really wouldn't. It's not big. It doesn't go into any wooded areas. This is all flat ground, no trees. We'd be planting some trees in the landscaping, but I mean, basically right now it's a flat canvas. And
I would think that money be better spent on like awnings or another play set or something for the kids or something like that. Just my opinion. I mean, whatever the group thinks, but
Is there a picnic area in this park or is it just playground?
no, there will be, we've looked at, we figured 2 picnic tables or picnic areas, some trash cans. You'll be able to see here in just a minute. I'll show you the memo that was sent to council, and it'll show a picture of the implements. We were looking at doing the rubber coated stuff that tends to keep the graffiti down, and they're not as much maintenance. They're very easy to spray off and clean, and they can be anchored. We'd want to anchor these things down to the concrete so they don't mysteriously fly off. And then a few trash cans and a water fountain. And then we have some money set aside for a playground type piece of equipment. And then I've given you the age breakdowns and given you some examples for those age groups of what those would look like. I will caution you though, when you see the price for these multi-station play pads, we've got several of them in the other park. It costs just about as much to put them in the ground and set them up as it does to buy them. And we can put them together internally with Public Works and the park guys. But the last one that we put together in the small park, the toddler play area, we were able to put that one together. And we had the equipment to do that. Depending on how big you go, we may or may not be able to do that. Just kind of depends, but let me share this. Are there any more comments about the walking trail?
Back to the walking trail, it would make availability even in the weather changes, or it wouldn't be muddy to walk around that. That would be the only advantage of it.
Okay. Pam, what do you think? You're
I
sitting
kind of
quietly.
like, to me, it's like a neighborhood. We've got the sidewalks getting there. You're gonna have sidewalks. You're gonna have in that pie-shaped area, any sidewalks around the outside part of that?
Yes. One whole
Okay.
side of it, all the entire east or west side is flanked by the roadway.
Okay.
But I
pers-
would not be able to fence that. And we could fence a walking trail.
So is it our responsibility to fence this property?
Yeah, well, we don't have to fence it across the front. We will across the back, mainly because I'm trying to keep out of the barbed wire. There's barbed wire on the back side of it. So we'll put a privacy fence up the back side. We don't have to fence the front unless you just want to. If that's not a big deal, if a fence is not something you want to do, we can very easily tie onto that sidewalk and just go around the other parts of it. If we tie into that sidewalk, it's a pretty significant savings in money. If we tie into the one that's already there.
I think we used what's in the community. I, for one, think we'd ought to have more of the benches and more of a larger piece of equipment, even though it's going to cost more. I still say, like I did last week, is if we don't have to deal with that water, I'd like to stay away from water, because that's huge expense continually for us. Last time you talked something also about irrigation, or is that, do we have to do that?
We don't have to irrigate it. It's really kind of up to y'all what you want to do. If we landscape it, I would suggest irrigating it. Now, we can do minimal landscaping and minimal irrigation. That's not a problem. But we had talked about a water fountain, and everywhere we put a water fountain, people want the little doggy fountain too. And that, that's going to require water. Now, I would expect in the past for park projects, JSUD has worked with us on the impact fees, the meter fees, where we've only had to pay really their cost. They didn't hit us with system development fees and a lot of those. I don't know that that's still a possibility. That is a conversation that I will have with them if we choose to put water in there. But even if we don't, it would be a 3/4 inch, typically residential meter. And I think that cost is around $3,800, I believe, when I looked on their website. But I expect that I think they would reduce that. And I don't know if they would charge us we may end up having to have a sewer tap fee also because of the water fountain. I can get those totals together and see what they're going to look like. And then, we can take a look at that too. The good side of this is this funding is in place. It's sitting there, and we are not under any time frame. So things that we want to look into and get answers to, we can get. We're not under a gun.
Well, back to your question to me about the sidewalks, I think we ought to hook in just to the community and make it look finished. I don't think as long as it's finished and goes around and gets people to the park area, but we're only talking around about 3 acres. That's not really a large that's not a very large park. So.
No, it's not. And it's like I say, I don't know that it would be a big deal to put in there. We can get the numbers ran. I can get it drawn out. We can get it laid in and get a square footage of it and kind of get a layout of how it's going to look. I'm just trying not to have to send a whole lot of stuff to the architect people, and
right,
they'll engineer me to death on this thing.
True.
We'll end up needing 3 times the amount of money. So,
Right.
Any more comments about sidewalk? Kim? No, Bill?
Well, I agree with Pam. I can go either way on that walking trail. Now, I went up there this afternoon about 3 o'clock and sat there and watched the school buses pull up, and the parents came and got their children and walked them down the sidewalk walking home. Many children. And so I'd rather spend money on playground equipment over there. I think if we're going to spend money, that's where it needs to be concentrated, in my opinion, of the children I saw this afternoon getting off that school bus. There are many. And
Well, and a
so-
sidewalk around the perimeter is something pretty easy to add if we
Yeah.
get a lot of requests for it too.
I don't see people are not going to drive there to walk. I mean, it's the neighborhood using that, and they have sidewalks right now. I don't see a great need in a walking trail. I would be in favor of.
Did you have
playground.
a diagram of the park?
No, I haven't, not until we kind of figure out what we're going to put in it, and then I'll get it put together. I mean, I know
Are there
what the layout
pavilions
is.
and covers?
I'm sorry.
Are there pavilions and covers on the picnic tables and
There-
things? I'm just,
There will be, yes.
okay,
What those are, we'll decide here, whether they're pergolas, whether they're canvas covers, whatever y'all want to do. We
okay.
could probably get American Steel carports to make us something. I think that'd look kind of tacky out there, but I'd either rather do a cedar pergola or one of the colored canvas deal. But I can tell you anything we buy that has park in it is very expensive just because of what it is.
Mhm.
Those shade structures will probably cost 3 times what a pergola will, but sometimes they look better, colored up and makes it more eye appealing, I guess.
They're probably made a little better too, right? I mean,
Well, I think, yeah, but those shade structures that we put in the ballpark, even though I think they're too high, because depending on where the sun is, they don't do a lot. They've been up now for 6 or 7 years,
oh, wow.
and they're in good shape. I mean, we've still got several years out of them before we need to start looking at replacing them, I believe. And so, I mean, they do last, and we don't have to stain them and maintain them. If we put pergolas up, they'll have to be stained every year. Then you got splinters, and I mean, you could argue both sides of it.
I think something with less maintenance costs makes more sense.
Mm.
It's less headache.
I'm all for less maintenance.
That's
Yeah.
it.
That's right.
Like I really like that first suggestion you have for the playground, that Belson butterfly base playground, because I think it, like the 2 to 12-year-old, I think that's kind of your audience, right? For the
Does
park.
everybody have that, or do I need to put it on the screen?
I've got it.
I have it.
I
I
have
think the butterfly one's too small.
Think so?
Yeah.
I was looking at the price of that, that big one, that dino climb one.
Well, I looked at what we have in the city park. And then I looked at also some of the parks in Burleson and also in other communities too. And I thought, when you look at, just like Bill's talking about all the school age kids,
Yeah.
the larger one is going to really get more of that school age population. This other one really is, he may say up to 12 years old, but it looks to me like it's kind of little. It looks closer to what we have in the city park. Is it, Mike?
Yes.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, we have 2 in the other park. One
Right.
is in that age group, and then the other is a toddler,
Right.
a smaller one.
And so that would be absolutely the smallest I would even consider. And I just personally think we need to go larger if we can afford it.
Well, we can
That's my
also,
personal
I also want to remind you guys that, we've done additions in the city park out there a number of times. We haven't chased a park grant in some time. that's an option for us here to chase a park grant to help pay for that equipment.
Yeah.
We can still do the park and set aside that area. And like I say, we're not under a time frame. We're already mowing it. We can put a few things out there and get it set up and get it operational without, I mean, this is something that we could come back and put in if we don't have the money to do it right now. So if something
Okay.
bigger is what you're looking for the older, I guess the 2 to 12, or of course, just like she said, you're going to get, teenagers
Sure.
messing around on that thing too. And I think it's probably fine for that. And we can have that conversation with the folks at that company, or we could look at some specific implements for them. Maybe not that size, but something else that might attract them
Right.
as an area more so than the kids slides. The swing set, for example. You can
Exactly.
get those for toddlers, younger age, or you can get them for, bigger adults. And, that's all stuff to give some thought to. We could separate those, have a 2 or 3 seater with the child seat swings on there like we have, and then have another one for older kids with the more conventional seat. Those are not horribly cost, and those are things that we can put up internally. So it's not a big deal.
How do everybody else feel about the water? Because it is just that little community. I kind of think they'll take their own water bottles with them. Kids coming from school usually have their water bottles too. So we do have to have trash cans.
Definitely need trash cans. I don't know. I guess when I think about water out there, I think it's convenient, obviously, and I can see people walking their dogs down there and needing a little dog water or two, I guess. But I think if we concentrated the water mainly on irrigation of just like the plants, and maybe a smaller amount of irrigation, not trying to water the whole 3-acre lot, I think that makes more sense for the water usage. I don't know that you have to have a water fountain, but I think it'd be nice to have.
I do too. I tend to side with the safe side of everything. And so that's why I asked about covers. And I mean, not that it gets hot in Texas, but
Yep.
I think the water fountain and covers and everything just make it tolerate the heat a little better for people to get outside,
More convenient.
We're a convenient society these days.
Well, let me,
I know how
I'll
I go
reach
to-
out to Pete at JSUD tomorrow and just see if we can get them working on what they may be able to do, if anything, to help us. And let's get an idea. The water is pretty cheap out there. The other park's a little different because of all the, it's not too bad until you turn on that splash pad, and then it gets
Yeah.
gentle. And of course, this is not going to have anything like that, but then, we're also going to have some lights and some other things out there. So, but let me reach out and talk to them and find out, like I say, what, if anything, they can do and get that number tightened up of what it might look like.
You're going to put lights on this 3 acres in Cooper Valley?
We're probably going to put a couple out there. We'll have to, but United Co-op has offered, I think they're looking into ponying those up. So maybe just to be small, decorative, just to give it a little light, because I mean, technically that park would be open until 11 o'clock also under the current park ordinance. So that way there'd be some lights out there, if nothing else, so the police can catch the little farts out there after hours when they should be home.
That never happens.
I haven't looked to see, there might be a street light pretty close to this thing too, where, our lighting could even be more minimal. But I need to drive by there in the evening and take a look and see how that is. But we would, and especially if we put a walking trail out there, we'd probably, that's one of the biggest complaints we get out here now is the trail is not completely lit, only that back section is. And if United Co-op's willing to donate it, then I'm willing to take it. We just put it on a street light bill out there with LED lights, those street lights now, as they're changing those, our cost for those street lights is going way down.
That's nice.
Mike, one of the questions I have is what type of vegetation are you gonna plant in that park, or do you have in mind?
Grass and cactus.
Minimal water.
So they won't get in there and try to mess with them.
That's right.
I don't know. It would be naturescape stuff. It would be, Texas tolerant, heat tolerant stuff. I feel like we probably should put a tree or two in there, but I'm hesitant to put a tree if we don't irrigate it.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. If we're gonna spend money for vegetation, plants and trees and stuff, then we need to irrigate it. It don't have to go 24/7, but we need to at least put bubblers on them and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I want to do minimal stuff. I don't want a lot of spray heads. And do it a little different than what we've got in the big park is, I mean, that sprinkler system's been a nightmare, but this will be nothing on that scale. It's that thing out there's got, 60 zones. This one's going to have probably 2, one for the grass and one for the landscaping, and that'll be the end of it.
I'm pretty sure Jay said will pitch in there and hip you up with what you need.
Well, I've got a board member that I can talk to. He's kind of cranky, but I figure if I can get him to lunch one day, we can work it out.
It'll have to be a good lunch.
Well, but we can start that conversation with them. They kind of know. I talked to Danny about it, but I think probably the decision maker is going to be Pete, and so I'll get with him, or Glenn and I, we can get with him and we'll run that up the flagpole. Like I say, they helped us considerably in the big park by the tune of about $40,000 in impact fees and tap fees and stuff. It was, of course, those are big lines out there. It's a lot different setup, but this right here will be, like I say, minimal 3/4 inch meter. And I guess it might even be possible, because it's 3 acres. Now we probably do have to hook onto the sewer because it's available, and our ordinance requires us to tap it if it adjoins the property. I think say we could run, probably run just a small septic system for the water drainage, but I don't think we can. We typically try not to get around our own ordinances for city projects. So, or I do anyway. So we probably would have to hook onto the sewer and it may not, that may make that water fountain, a bigger issue because, when you're paying for water and sewer, it's kind of pricey.
Let me ask, on the Atmos gas line easement that crosses that property, is that going to be a problem with any of our playground equipment, or if we put in a pergola or something like that?
No, not unless it goes boom.
Okay.
Anything that we put out there to be considered temporary.
Okay.
And I've also hit them up about a donation too. We probably would not put anything permanent on it. We might cross it with a sidewalk if that's in there, but most of there might be a bench, a little setting bench on it, but the picnic tables and stuff, we would try to keep off of it, just because if they ever have to go in there and dig, we don't want them to have to mess with our stuff. But that's all considered non-permanent, according to our local person. There's nothing out there it's deep enough that it's not of concern to them. It's a big line, but it's pretty deep. So. What else? So y'all want me to work on a set of numbers for the larger playground equipment for the 2 to 12s.
Mhm.
Well, I don't know how the others feel, but I've just been very vocal because,
Well, I hadn't heard them say no, so
okay.
what about,
I agree with Pam on that. What I saw was the age group out there today. We don't need a small. It needs, you need to take care of the 10 and 12-year-olds. And I think it would be a larger playground equipment.
okay. So the swing sets, we okay with the swings?
I could go either way on swings. I could go either way on swings. I could take them or I could leave them. And I love to swing, but
I think they're definitely needed. I think kids like to swing.
Oh, yes.
All right, so we're definitely gonna do trash cans. We're gonna do, now I've just figured on 2 picnic areas, and 2 benches. Do we want to do more benches?
no, we're just 3 acres. It needs space to run, play. We want to fill it with stuff. That's my feeling.
I think 2 benches, a couple benches on the outskirts and, you know, a couple picnic tables. I
Are
think
2 picnic tables too many? I mean, will 1 be enough?
Oh, I think you need 2. I think
I think we need 1. I don't know that we need 2, but you know, we could put it in there for looking at.
I just think it gives a couple families somewhere to sit. I mean, there's nothing wrong with sitting with another family, but I don't know.
I don't know these days.
Yeah,
Well, we were gonna
With the
put
social
1,
distancing.
socially distance those tables, will you?
we were gonna have 1, just kind of a standard size picnic table, and then the second one that's ADA compliant, that's got space for a wheelchair to roll up underneath it.
Hmm.
Both would be sitting on about 12 by 12 concrete pads with some sort of shade structure over them. That was the plan.
It's a pretty nice community park.
And the land was given to us, so we didn't pay anything for it. That's part of the Cooper Valley Park. We've also got another one that's coming up. The next phase of Joshua Meadows has got dedicated parkland in it too. And they're probably fixing to they're going to go ahead and build that phase now rather than wait, just because of the way the cost of construction is going now. So that park's probably going to be coming online in the next 12 months. And I think it's about the same size. It might be a little bit bigger. I'd have to look and see. I think it might be a little bit bigger.
Is it gonna be closer to 5 acres, you think?
6, I think.
You think it's
so?
6 acres?
It used to be 6 acres, Mike, but I
Okay.
don't know if they've trimmed that back.
I know
or
it's
not.
several lots out there that have been trimmed back. So I'll take a look on the last plat and see how big it is. But if they're going to be looking at a variance on at the council meeting, and if they get that, which I expect that they will, they're going to start finalizing plans and turn it in for that last phase, or for the phase 3C, which is the next to the last one. But this is the one that has the park in it.
Well, then we have to either go after that grant or be careful how much money we spend.
Mike, I got a question on that. We're using some of the money now from the hotel funds, right?
Correct.
Okay. What about money that is paid by the builders that went into funds that they didn't want to park, or whatever, they paid money back to the city? What about, where's that money at and how much is it, and can it be spent?
That can be spent. It has to be budgeted, but yes, it can be spent. It's in a fund. I don't know what the balance of it is, but there's only been a couple of areas that I think have done that. I don't know what that was. But
You're done.
I can check and see what that, see where we are with that, see what the balance is on that.
Okay. Well, I mean, some of that money could be used maybe not in this park we're talking about today, but the future park down in Joshua Meadows.
Uh-huh. We're also looking at probably next couple of months, the council's going to get a look at city impact fees. Kind of reworking our thoroughfare plan where development calls for building of different type roads and so forth. We're going to go to a strict or to us just a straight impact fee per lot that'll be paid for when they pull permits. And so there's going to be we're going to propose a park fee that's on that too. And then that'll do away with the developer having an option or buying trees or giving land or whatever else. They're just going to be a flat, they're going to pay a fee for a park if they build a house in Joshua. And that'll start with these new developments coming online, if the council approves it. And we're going to have a couple of other impact fees with that to make it easier to take away from the developers building roads and stuff, going back to where we would take those on based on those fees. I say building roads, making street improvements on existing streets. That's what that would be used for. Is there any other comments about where we're going or what we're looking at in this little park?
I don't think so. Not for me anyways.
Mm-mm.
One question, Mike,
I'm sorry?
one question. The front part of it by the street, is
Yes.
that gonna have to have a cable line up there to keep somebody from going in there and tearing it up with their vehicles and this, that, and another?
You know, it doesn't, there's no requirement for it to, but we've struggled with that in the other park, especially when there's snow on the ground.
Right.
Mhm.
Now this one's not going to be quite as roomy. They're not going to have as much room to spin around and act crazy like they do now. But
Right.
I mean, it has been an issue. I'm hoping this one though is going to be, there are going to be enough homes around it that people will kind of help police that when they see this stuff going on. But
And it could always be added later.
it can, and you know, we've talked about asking about putting one of those in the current park, and because we really can't shut it down at 11 o'clock, and that's when most of the, you know, they're breaking into stuff is happening at those times. Now we've got security cameras coming. They started the wiring and the power for those today, and so you know we'll be bringing more of that security up online moving forward. And you know, this little park right now we don't have anything in place for security cameras out there, but there will be power out there. So, you know, that would be an easy thing to add if we choose to.
One other thing.
Mhm.
You've done a wonderful job on the ballparks up there and it's really looking fantastic. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Have y'all seen the fields? Have y'all gone up there and looked at them?
Yeah, they look good.
Yeah, we've got the rest of the stuff for those fields, the pitching mounds and the fence covers and stuff, those shipped out. So I'm expecting those in the next couple of days. And then we've got floor guys that we're trying to get scheduled to get in there to seal up those floors in the concession stand and the restrooms and do away with trying to scrub the urine smell out of the concrete.
Ugh.
That's and then get them painted. So we'll have it ready for spring season. But the fields should be ready, you know, in the next week or 10 days where, you know, they could start practicing on them and getting used to the stuff. They did do a really nice job on them. They all drain off really quick now,
That's awesome.
really quick.
That was a long time coming. That was good.
Yeah, it was. And it, you know, 10 years old, it was time to do it. So, but I'm hoping we can attract some ball tournaments this year to help make up the cost for doing that.
Good deal.
Anything else on this stuff that you guys want me to look at?
No,
I'm
I
good.
don't.
All right.
Unless
I'll-
unless you want to start gathering information. I hate to even ask you, you're so busy, and we appreciate everything that you do, but the information about the grants, if we need to start researching those, or
I will. I'll reach out to a couple of people that have helped us in the past with those and see what's available and what's out there through
Okay.
Parks and Wildlife. Sure will.
thank you.
Mhm. And I am probably going to go ahead and put up the privacy fence along the backside. Just go ahead and get that done and just get it fenced off so we can kind of get an idea of, that way you'll be able to drive by there and see what's the park.
Yeah.
It's kind of a long piece of pie. Oddly shaped pie, but. All right.
All
Yes,
right.
sir.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike,
I
for
don't think there's
everything.
anything
you
else
do.
on here, boys and girls.
So, I guess future agenda items.
I got my list.
Yeah. Anybody else? All right.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Can I second that?
No. I'll second it.
All right. See you at 7:13. I guess we're done. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah.